BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. In today's episode, I interview Casey Ahrendsen. We discuss Casey's journey as a 4-time state champion in tennis at Cheyenne Mountain High School in Colorado Springs, her dual athletic participation in volleyball and tennis, and the decision to ultimately focus on tennis instead of club volleyball. We also speak about how she dealt with pressure, how success has shaped her current mentality in life and business. Casey uncovers the importance of having confidence in each and every aspect of her journey and how that will impact you as the listener.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Coleman Gerhardt. A former athlete and motivational coach, I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
Well, coming live in the frozen tundra of what we call Colorado is another opportunity to hear the second half of the story. And this young lady just is someone that really caught me by surprise as I was able to spend a few moments with her on the court, learning about what makes her tick, her demeanor, her athletic drive, her competitive spirit. And she was remarkable on and off the court. And it brings me a tremendous honor to have the 4-time state champion, Miss Casey Ahrendsen. Welcome to the BTB Project.
Thank you so much. I know I've been following this for a while. I'm glad to be a part of it, share my side of the story, and add on to Allie's podcast. So if anyone hasn't listened to that, definitely listen to that as well. It's a great one.
Definitely. I'll make sure that that episode is in the podcast notes. Being able to talk to all of these Cheyenne Mountain former players, I feel like I need to be wearing a maroon jacket when I'm doing this. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Because I remember the maroon jackets when I went to against you guys back in the day.
The nice fleece maroon jackets. Honestly, it's still back home down in Colorado Springs. I wear it all the time. It's one of the warmest jackets out there. You can't not wear it. So yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah, and it's just, listen, the school that you got to go to as a high schooler, the culture just bred an athletic environment of where everyone was really proud of it. And it wasn't just tennis. I saw it with a lot of different sports where the school had success. But I want to start right out of the gate. Cheyenne Mountain, Casey Ahrendsen, what did the school mean to you?
Oh gosh, it meant a lot to me, honestly. Anyone that knows me knows that I am a ride or die for Cheyenne Mountain. My brother went to school there and he's way older than me. So it's just something that the culture I grew up in. Thankfully, the opportunity to be a part of that athletics department as well was an honor, honestly. But also just the fact that you were in such a community that cared so much, not just about athletics, but your family, the actual education system, being a blue ribbon school, really all about that, as well as even being a public school. It felt almost like a private school just with how everything was handled and taken care of. And the education system was just so amazing. So that school will always be a big part for me. And I have to live it every day because my fiance is also from Cheyenne Mountain. So
See, there you go. You keep the legacy living on.
exactly.
That's so cool. And it's funny because even though I've competed against Maroon a lot as a coach, I actually grew up at a school that was just north of you in Parker, Colorado, called Ponderosa High School.
Yep.
Which maroon and gold was
Yeah.
mascot colors. So I actually was shocked because they just had the 40th anniversary of the school's existence. So they had this big old kind of celebratory year. And I ironically had a podcast with one of my friends and former football state champion, Grant Stucker, who was the QB at Ponderosa when they won the 5A state championships. And then he went on and played at CSU. And then I had a tennis player on by the name of Andy Zerker, who won the number one single state championship at Ponderosa, one of the few state champions at Ponderosa. And then he went on to Notre Dame, which I know a name Becky Varnum is someone that was a big success at Cheyenne Mountain, just like yourself. But as I'm connecting all of these dots, I find it interesting that you talked about having an older brother. And now it's starting to make some sense to me because I have an older brother too. And I got a lot of tough love growing up. So I would
Yeah.
love for you to speak to what was it like having the little sister syndrome with your older brother?
Yeah. So my older brother, so he's my half brother, but he's actually 16 and a half years older than me. When it came to tough love, obviously being a 16-year-old with a newborn sister,
Mm.
the patience levels are probably a little bit off. And then obviously getting into that toddler stage, he's like, I'm in college. I don't have time for this. He played football, was an athlete himself. And so I was just raised in that environment, daddy's little girl, but was raised probably as tomboy as it can get. Just given my family playing football in the house and getting tackled in our grass and teaching me how to ride a bike. If I felt it was like tough, get back up, do it again. So just growing up with that, I remember one time, we'll get into volleyball and stuff, but I guess this is a great idea of how high I could jump as a child with a 6'3" older brother. I actually jumped up on his back when I was probably 5 years old, somehow got all the way up onto his shoulders. But he got so mad because I accidentally hit him in the face. He just drug me outside and left me in the snow. So that's just how I was raised. So every little detail was just like, ah, whatever, suck it up, move on. You're good.
Yeah, the tough love, it's such a double-edged sword because I remember when I started playing tennis, my brother was a senior in high school, I was a freshman.
Hmm.
He would beat me in every sport, Casey. We're talking baseball, football, anything that had any sort of athletic movement, he'd crush me. And so I try out for the tennis team and I ended up beating him for the last spot on the team. And he ended up duct taping me to a flagpole as a commemorative initiation in
Yeah.
being happy that I beat him. And those times were really tough in the moment because I felt like he was picking on me a little bit. But then when I look back and I'm thinking like, gosh, where did I get some of my toughness from? Where did I learn how to have grit and overcoming the odds per se of an opponent on the other side of the court? And as I'm saying that, and when it reflects to your tennis journey, how important was it to be thrown in the snow every now and then? And how did it help you on the court?
Really having that thick skin, just every tiny little experience. Obviously, it's not like I stayed in the snow. I got out of it. I went back inside. I warmed up. Everything was good moving forward. So, in the same idea, you miss a point, whatever, you shank a shot in tennis. It's fine. It's a single point. You move on. You get over it. You don't want to keep everything in the past. You don't want to think about it because you still have a whole game
Yeah.
to look forward to.
Yeah.
So that was always my mindset. And that transferred over to volleyball too. A point to point, if that's going to get into your head mentally, then it's going to end up not being too great for you on the court. So you might as well just cut it off, move on, and win the next point at least, or something like that.
Yeah, it's not rocket science with tennis. It's you got to win at least 51% or more of the points to find success in a match. And it's fascinating because I see a lot of kids, whether it's in high school or in college, even on the tour, that they have a hard time understanding that they just have to find a way to break a little bit above even. And I use this analogy all the time, and I want to get your sense of this because this is why you had a lot of the success that you had, Casey, was you don't go and take a test in school and find any success getting a 51% on that test. That's
Right.
the letter grade of an F. but in tennis, it's an A. So,
Mhm.
how were you able to understand that simple math and know that you're gonna eat your crow every now and then, but if you can break just above even, you're gonna have some success? At what point in your athletic career in general did you realize you don't have to be perfect?
Oh gosh, pretty young, in all honesty. I started playing sports really, I would do tennis tournaments in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and you just slowly learn every single time. Obviously, as a kid, you're a bit more emotional
Yeah.
when it comes to things just because you don't fully understand what's going on. But even in volleyball, both of them, you obviously have to win 51% or more of those points. And it probably really hit me around 7th grade when I really started to actually take sports a lot more seriously, just knowing that, okay, in 2 years, I'm in high school. Here's what this means for me. And then obviously being a part of club sports and all of that, just knowing that you can't win 25-0 all the time. You could be down 23-20 and come back 5 points. Like anything is possible.
Yeah.
And so that was the mindset that I had. It's like, okay, you lost some points, but there's still so many points that you have left to win. So
Right.
that's why I always thought of it.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, club volleyball, I know that you had to make a pretty difficult decision in 8th grade with
Mhm.
kind of the trajectory of sports in general. And I know being a multi sport athlete, I can't imagine what your schedule's like. So I'd love to have you walk the listeners through that moment in 8th grade where you had to take a different approach on volleyball, and
Ah,
how did that gear towards your approach towards tennis?
yeah. 8th grade, I was playing at one of the top volleyball clubs in Colorado. All of the girls there would go D1. Like if Haley Washington rings a bell, she played for the Olympic team.
Yeah.
She went to Penn State, all of that. She was at my volleyball club. Uh,
Wow.
a lot of girls with that athletic ability and that greatness, but it also was a lot of time. Club volleyball takes a lot of time. You're always traveling to different states. Practice could be 2 to 3 hours, maybe 3 to 4 times a week. It really just depends. And I remember the height of club volleyball was during the spring season. With the club being all the way up in Monument, depending on traffic, it could be a pretty long drive from Colorado Springs. And I just remember 8th grade me. So not even on a tennis team yet. My mom drove me to the high school to go look at Coach Adams in the eyes and say, look, I want to play for you. I want to be on varsity. I'd already been to a Nike tennis camp, so I'd had that experience with him
Ah,
in that lens. And I said, here's the situation with club volleyball. What do you want me to do? And he said, if I'm being fully honest, tennis is going to take up every single moment of after school. With training and schedules, if you really want to be a part of this team, you're probably not going to be able to do volleyball. And so that was I cut off club volleyball. Once again, I am 5'7". So it's not like me being an outside hitter was in the horizon for me for
right.
college or anything like that. But tennis in my mind was the priority. I knew that was my main sport, and so I was just gonna dedicate my time to that, and then just do high school volleyball on the side and see where that took me as well.
Yeah. The amount of not only club sports in Colorado, I did not know that nugget on how big that club volleyball program was. In Colorado Springs in general, with a lot of the Olympic development stuff that's down there, it's just everything I've heard about volleyball specifically is it is a crazy grind.
Yeah.
And I had a couple experiences with dual sport athletes as a coach. I had a gal by the name of Fran Beliebe who made the decision to go play college basketball at Stanford instead of play tennis, which was her main sport. But she picked up a basketball her freshman year in high school and went to an open gym. And when she was doing that, she was only 6'1". She wasn't tall.
Right.
She could play. And I remember having the conversation with her. She was a sophomore in high school and just finished her spring tennis season.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about this basketball thing." And I know it's contrary to what I've done as a coach, but I told Fran, like, dude, you gotta like go run towards basketball
Yeah.
as much as you can because with all due respect, there's more opportunities
Mhm.
scholarship wise
Right.
and financially on the basketball realm. And she went for it and had a great experience at Stanford. And now she's studying to be a doctor. So, with all of that said, I commend your decision to want to play tennis. I know that the state of Colorado for high school tennis wasn't very happy when you made that decision because you started to impose your will with Miss Allie and
Yeah.
making grounds at number one doubles. I'd love for you to go back to that moment when you make that decision, you pull the ripcord on this going after tennis. What was it like taking the court, and did you feel pressure knowing that you pushed volleyball aside and what was like maybe you're out of your comfort zone a little bit?
Yeah, definitely during tryouts. Obviously, that's as a freshman, being a part of tryouts, it's probably the most stressful time of your life. Because you're not familiar with really anyone, you're not familiar with all the coaches. And I do remember I was thinking to myself, you're gonna be on varsity. There's no other option for you. And that was just my mentality. But also realizing that you did just cut off something that was near and dear to you.
No.
Uh, and so you're going to have to make tennis worth that decision. But in the long run, it played out, obviously. And it played out throughout high school, too. You talk about being a dual athlete. And that really allowed me, training was a little bit crazy, being a dual athlete. It started summer. That was time for volleyball. Right after tennis ended, time to train for volleyball. You hit fall, there's volleyball season. Once that's done, winter season, you're done. You're training for tennis, and then spring is tennis season. So that was me every single year. And then it played out in high school, obviously. My high school team in volleyball also won a state championship my junior year, which was probably the most memorable experience of my life on the volleyball court. There was so much emotion in that game, especially with the club that I cut off, but they also in a way cut me off. Their whole club team was our opponents. And our whole team at
Oh,
Cheyenne
wow.
basically our whole team at Cheyenne was basically everyone that they had rejected. There was a lot of tension in this match, but I just remember we beat them in straight sets, and I just remember looking into the stands and just staring them in the eye,
Wow.
which
No.
goes into my competitiveness, but it was just one of those moments for all of us where we were like, it was just all of us were so happy, and it was a very competitive moment. So,
It was like you guys had your own version of the movie Dodgeball where you guys were the average
basically,
Joes and you were going up against Globo Gym, right?
yeah, exactly. Everyone knew the situation, which was funny, and they were also a rival of us anyways. They were our top rival.
Wow.
So, just every single added tension that you could think of for a game was right there in the state finals. It was a crazy moment, but obviously it all paid off. So,
I gotta make sure that maybe we should just stop and do the intro again because now I have to say you're a five-time state champion. Like, how many of these state champion like, do you have them, like, in your
I
closet? Like, where do you keep all of these things?
no, just mentally. Got the rings for tennis. I don't think we did a volleyball ring. Not quite sure, but it's all in the memories, and I remember every single moment of it. So that's what matters. What
Man,
matters.
that's just incredibly impressive, and it's something that will lead to the flip side of that, where you had to experience a moment your freshman year where you learned early on that you had to lick your wounds with a tough loss at number one doubles, which
Yes.
ended up being your only loss in high school tennis. I want you to go back to that moment because that was a crossroads for you and Allie where
Yeah.
depending on how you handled that moment, one, I want you to talk about the moment, but two, I want you to talk about how that moment helped lead to what you guys were able to accomplish.
Absolutely. And that's listening to Allie's explain that one moment. She had mentioned that there was tension going on within that match. And I will fully admit that I was the tension. It was all me. And it was just that competitive edge that I had was so strong that day. The match, in a way, had just skewed my mental toughness off a little bit. There were some calls made that I wasn't happy with that just put me in a whole different persona and competitive level that was not team based by any means. It was all me, all mental. And that match, I learned really after that. That's not how you can play tennis. There's no way if you and Allie are going to work out, you can't, that's not how you talk to your partner. That's not how you treat your partner. You want to keep that trust and that chemistry there and that relationship that Allie and I had for 10 plus years anyways. And just understanding that's not how your partner works through stress and tension and competitiveness and really adapting to get them to be better while also being better on your end.
Oh,
That was probably the biggest moment for both of us that once we had those similar moments down the road in certain matches, we knew how to handle each other and we knew how to maybe someone doesn't want to say, oh no, like it's okay. Like someone doesn't want to hear that. And just little things, not even just big things overall, but small things that you say or do throughout the match just to keep that mentality there, the energy up and not let anything really shift within the match.
yeah. The moment that you guys had, and listen, that team that you played was no slouch. My
Wow.
understanding was a couple of girls that were going
Right.
to go play college tennis,
We were
right?
freshmen, they were seniors.
Yeah.
It was a wake up call, but I
What
mean,
school was it? What school was
it
it?
was Fossil Ridge.
Ah,
Fossil Ridge. Yes. Yes.
so for all the tennis bums out there, especially Colorado high school girls tennis, Fossil Ridge has always been known for having elite, I repeat, elite doubles teams.
Yes.
They were always a tough out every time that I had to compete against them. And I don't remember those two by name specifically, but I do remember what they were able to accomplish. And I don't think a lot of people that year were going to beat them. But I just am curious, when that match ended, did you even fathom being able to win a state championship at all when you're in that moment of defeat? Because if I were you guys thinking about what you were looking to accomplish, I would have some doubts about being able to even win one.
Right. Yeah. And that moment, especially just the thought of losing, which we hadn't even done yet. And it was during just one of Cheyenne's invitationals that they did, I believe.
Yep.
In the moment, it was like, okay, reality check. This can happen to us at any time. We have to make sure we play our best because obviously, if a team is playing their best, we have to at least match it or be better. And so, right after the match, Allie and I went our separate ways. That's how much tension was in this match. We went our separate ways. We were both crying. It was it was a whole thing. But it also came to be you work it out a couple of days later, you talk it out, you understand what being partners is really like. And we just came to the mentality like, hey, first off, they're 5A. We're not 5A.
Yep.
Let's focus on the opponents we have played that we know we're going to play.
Mm.
So thinking of it in that sense helped a lot, but also just the fact that you realize that can't happen again. So it's not going to happen again.
Wow. No, I love that. Listen, in any aspect of life, like I saw this stat on like a Roger Federer recently where everyone's just in awe of what he was able to do in his career, but he lost more time than he won between his junior career up to his professional career.
Yeah.
And thinking of my development, the first 14 tournaments I played, I lost the first round.
Right.
And the 15th tournament I played, I won it.
Mhm.
So even though you guys have an unbelievably skewed match record based on the norm, that you had some valuable lessons learned from that one match that if you didn't learn the valuable lesson from that match,
Yeah,
it have easily changed the entire trajectory of
exactly.
what you and Allie were able to do. And with that, going into that first state championship and knowing that you're in the final and you're able to compete and it's right at your fingertips, like at what point do you remember that moment when you won the first one and what that meant to you and Allie?
Yeah, that first one was not to say it in a bad way, but definitely the most exciting just because it was our first one. We were freshmen. I can't remember what school we played, but I just remember both of us just being so excited. Like, we finally did it. And it has to go a lot into how we really held ourselves throughout matches, too. I would say Allie touched on it in her podcast episode, but on the court, we're not serious
Yep.
by any means. Men, we love tennis. We want to do well. We want to win, obviously. But on the court, we're smiling, we're laughing, we're shaking hands. And that's really what kind of just kept us in the moment. But obviously, having that type of energy too just allowed us to achieve that. And it just, from that first state championship, obviously there's added pressure for the next year and all of that. But that energy that we had just kept us in that moment really throughout the rest of the years. Like, we saw how amazing winning that first one was, and it just carried over through the rest of the years.
The two big things that you said there that I want everybody that's listening to understand is the importance of letting yourself do things in life. We sometimes put so much pressure on ourselves. We sometimes put all of these monkeys on our back before we even go do anything athletically. I know it's different being a high school kid today than it was when you were a high school kid, but there's still pressures there when you guys were there. But the reason why I'm sharing this is because the carefree mentality that you and Allie had on the court, even though it may have come across as like disinterested or not as serious, it is unbelievably effective
Mhm.
because it just allowed you guys to stay in a mental place to perform.
Right.
When you are performing, and you can probably attest to this too in volleyball, when you're performing, you're not overthinking, you're not overanalyzing, you're just doing. And one of the greatest quotes I heard, and it's probably from some silly 90s movie I used to watch, but if you make it look hard, you're easy to beat. If you make it look easy, you're hard to beat.
Mhm.
And on top of that, another quote was, if you take life too seriously, you'll never get out alive. And those have always resonated with me because I was always the underdog mentality. I was the
Mhm.
guy that I never even played in a state tennis match, Casey. I lost in the first round of regionals every year and I got knocked out. But yet I'm helping coach kids to compete in state championships or win state championships because I've learned the emotion behind how to perform and not overthink. So as I'm saying that and you start getting some success and the wheels turning in this
Yeah.
4-year stretch of unbelievable success. At what point, and I don't want to come across insensitive, but at what point did it seem like, gosh, this is easy?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. Obviously, freshman year for Allie and I think was in a way the toughest just because we were learning all the different schools, learning how everyone plays. What grade is everyone? Are we gonna have to play them again in the future if they don't move up? If so, how is that gonna play out for us? Sophomore year hit, and that first year of not losing is what set the stage for the
Um,
rest. Of just like, hey, we did this. We can do it again. We just have to make sure that we put our minds to it. It's not going to be too difficult if we just did exactly what we did this year. And also, sophomore year was the year I lost my overhead, which
ah,
is not normal, which a lot of people can attest to. Even through little bumps in the road like that, we were still able to accomplish so much
mm,
that slowly for both of us was, hey, we got this in the bag. Not in a bad way. We knew what was ahead of us. We knew maybe who was coming up just because we knew who was graduating in all the age ranges. We could just make the team that way. Understand that hopefully for those 4 years too, that we were going to be together and play just to make sure that nothing was going to change.
yeah, and it's for me now to fast forward to being an assistant at a school that you guys played your last high school match against at Valor Christian. and the coach of the team was the coach of the team when you guys beat them. And I get a kick out of it because he loves and supports me doing this podcast gig. And when
Mhm.
Allie's episode posted, he's like, "Oh, the nemesis. We are never
Yeah.
able to figure out how to beat this team."
Yeah.
And I'm sharing that because you guys had an unbelievably, like, it was like a beacon of light how your confidence was. And again, I didn't have many opportunities to coach against you, but
Right.
got to talk to a lot of coaches that had to play against you with their teams. And some of them actually knew that I had worked with you and Allie on a private basis. And they were asking, like, what's the secret? Like, what's it gonna take? And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I had nothing. Like, I knew what you guys were capable of.
Mhm.
And I'm 17 years into high school coaching now, and it's just such a amazing, coincidental, like, go buy a lottery ticket because this just never happens type of situation, because
Right.
it's the same partner, it's the same position 4 years in a row. And I gotta ask and hear your response is you go and play your last match against that Valor Christian team. You rolled them. It was not a complicated match. You knew you were gonna win. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. It's just
Right.
how you guys approached it.
Yeah.
What did it mean to you to realize? Okay. And I watched the old Nine News or Gazette video of
Oh,
you
yes.
guys winning it and saw the emotion behind it. And I wanted to watch it because one, I had never seen it before. And two, I'm like, gosh, 4 years in a row winning a state championship.
Yeah.
When it was over, the ball stopped bouncing, and you looked at Allie and you're like, "Holy cow." What
Yeah.
what did that mean to you, Casey?
It made honestly everything. It was the moment that Allie and I had been really looking forward to
Yeah.
for a really long time, but also dreading in the same sense. I remember it was Allie's serve, and I remember I was at the net, and he was like 40-30 or something, or 41. I have no idea. But I just remember, like, the nerves were hitting me, so I just turned around to look at her, and right as we made eye contact, like, it was waterworks from there. Like, we
Yeah.
knew that at some point during this match, it was gonna happen, especially then also being emotional playing that Valor team that we had played for 2 years. We actually got to know them so well,
Yeah.
and they were just such sweet girls and they were crying too, just because it was their last match together as well. So it was honestly like an emotional court, which definitely didn't help, but just winning that, it was honestly such a speechless moment for both of us, just realizing what we had accomplished, all the hard work that we had put in just throughout the years to get there, and then finally be able to do something that not many have ever been able to do in Colorado history. It was honestly just overwhelming and exciting, but sad, and basically all the emotions put into one hour, I would say.
So we've seen a lot of different contrast with your journey. You have this volleyball piece, you have the being thrown in snow piece by the older brother, the tennis piece where you just walk through winning that fourth state championship. But let's draw a circle for a little bit around your junior year, because
Yeah.
that's a year where you go out and you win a tennis championship and a volleyball championship. Did they stop the city of Colorado Springs and do a parade for Casey Ahrendsen based off of this monumental accomplishment?
No, I do think I won athlete of the year that year for our high school.
I would hope so.
But no, it was just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's recognized, but tennis had been going on for 2 years now. Volleyball, that was actually pretty big, just given all the girls that were leaving. But it was just another day in the life. Not in a hockey way or anything, but
Yeah.
it's sports. You win, that's great, but you also internalize it and move on in a sense. So as much as I loved saying that I won 2 state championships in 1 year, It just happened to be that way. And obviously, very grateful for both of those teams, both seasons, and what we were able to accomplish. But the city did not have a parade for me.
Oh goodness, not good. I just have it like in my mind of like seeing like the floats and
Right.
you and Allie like bantering at each other still, even on the floats when you're not on the
Yeah.
tennis court. That would probably happen. No, that's really fun to hear and hear you reflect on. But let's talk about, and this has come up a few times in our conversation, and I want to fast forward to today. You're not this prestigious high school athlete anymore. You're career mode. You're
Hmm.
in a wonderful time in your life with this fantastic news of an engagement and just being able to do life.
Hmm.
But I've been able to coach kids to have the ability to either develop a state championship mindset, or if they are able to become a state champion, that they get to take that with them for the rest of
Hmm.
their life. And with you, Casey, when it comes to this next chapter and where you're at today, what does it mean to you to know that you have a state championship mentality? And how has that helped you just to do life?
Yeah. Honestly, one of the biggest things that comes out of it is just understanding that really anything is possible.
Mm,
Whether it's taking certain exams or going back to school, trying to win certain business deals, you just need to have that mindset of you can do it. You can really do anything, but also have that level of toughness as well, saying, if something doesn't go right, okay, once again, on to the next. You can't really let it affect you too much, especially, I guess, in business is a pretty tough area to be in, just depending on what side you're on.
yeah.
And being able to not only have all of that, but also have, I know Ali mentioned in her episode, both of us being captains too, having that mentality as well, the leadership aspect, being able to talk to people on a certain level with a certain level of adaptability on how people react once again to certain situations and just being able to have almost a leadership mindset as well, putting the state championship mindset and then that captain leadership mindset all into one just gives another level of confidence, almost self-encouragement, just because you're able to achieve certain things, and that should be able to translate off the court as well.
The lessons that you learned in this whole experience as being an athlete, and when it comes to paying some wise words forward, it's hard because as we're talking through your journey, I feel, and this happened too with Allie and some other folks that I've had on podcasts, is like you almost have to sometimes walk on eggshells, it feels like, when it comes to saying that you have confidence or saying that you're going to do something extraordinary and that you have a handle on this. And I hope I'm finding the right words when I say this, because I see so many people willing to go the complete opposite direction easily,
Mhm.
lacking self confidence, be negative, be anxious, doubting themselves. Full circle, here I am as a dad now, and I got 3 kids. And
Right.
I got 2 daughters, and I got my son, and, like, I want my daughters to be strong-willed. I want them
Mm.
to have confidence. I want them to, be sure of themselves in moments.
Right.
And the reason why I'm sharing all of this is, like, you and Allie and Casey, with all due respect, like, you were just an incredible competitor. I never saw you phased. And
Yeah.
I know you mentioned it came from some tough love with the older sibling, but when I'm talking through that and I'm thinking through your scenario of what allowed you to have some success and how you're using it in the real world today, how important is confidence to you? And if you could give advice to a high school kid today that's lacking it, what would you tell them?
I would confidence really is everything. Your mentality is totally going to shift if you don't have the confidence. You're going to be pessimistic instead of optimistic, and you're always going to stay in that negative mindset.
Yeah.
If you don't have confidence just in yourself as a whole, but I can personally say that being doubles partners with Allie helps me so much in that aspect because Allie can talk about it every time before a state championship. I was a nervous, negative wreck. And I was always this pessimistic mindset of, oh my God, we're gonna lose and what's going to happen. And I just always had a fairly negative and just pessimistic mindset. And she would have to talk to me before every single match and be like, look, we played them, we beat them. We've just, it's us together for these past 4 years. We know what we can achieve. And so she really was my rock and my confidence in that sense. She really helped me through all of that. And that was just my own personal lesson that she taught me.
Mm,
Just to, if you stay confident, good things are going to happen to you. And then obviously going into a match with a negative mindset was never good for me just because you mess up one shot and then you're automatically there. You're locked into that mindset versus with confidence, you can say, okay, one shot, we're fine, move on. So
mm,
for anyone that doesn't have a lot of confidence in themselves, it's all a learning experience. It's all about building it. And it's just one step at a time. It doesn't happen right off the bat. But if you slowly progress into having confidence,
mm.
then you can eventually almost train yourself to be in that mindset all the time. And then hopefully just achieve the best from there.
Yeah, the confident mindset doesn't happen overnight. And it was so well said how you articulated that and how you were able to develop it and had a built-in counselor as a doubles partner to help you through that every step of the way, which actually ended up making you look like you were not having those kind of frazzled moments on the court.
Right.
You had literally the perfect person
Mhm.
to help you through those tough times.
Yeah.
And with that said, the story is just remarkable. I'm so humbled and honored to even be a blip on you or Allie's radar because it was just such a fun and enjoyable experience for me as a
Yeah.
coach to learn about you guys and to help you develop or whatever it is. But when it's all said and done, I found it fascinating that Allie said Casey and I were buds and we were partners, but to be honest, off the court, we probably aren't hanging out with each other all that much. I'd love
Yeah.
to hear your side of
Yeah.
what is the relationship like with a four-time state champion doubles partner off the court?
It was pretty interesting. Obviously, us as a whole, we had a relationship that no one else could really match, in my opinion. We just knew each other on a much deeper level than really either of our friend groups could really think of.
Yeah.
But when it came to that as well, you're in high school, everyone has their groups. Our groups were not the same by any means. They were quite the opposite. And so it was interesting. Obviously, it's not like we weren't talking to each other throughout the hallways or anything, but it was just interesting. Everyone like knew we were all friends
Yep.
and obviously respected what we accomplished and stuff like that. And other people probably found it interesting that we weren't in the same friend group. But we always talked to each other. We always saw each other. It wasn't some weird, awkward walk past them situation. It was just that's who we were and that's who we grew up with. And that's just how it worked out. But also, in a way, it was extremely beneficial just because we weren't together 24/7. We were allowed to be each other's outlet for certain situations. There was no friend group drama. It was just, in my mind, almost relaxing knowing that I could have someone that didn't have to deal with what I had to not deal with, but interact with at school on a different level. She could just be my outlet and I'd be able to see her and it was exciting and it was fun and we were best buds right there on the court. So, in a way, it was probably a good thing that we weren't in the same friend group. And it helped both of us a lot.
Incredibly well said. And lastly, I got one more for you
Yeah.
when it comes to your proudest moment, because we've really fixated on making history and doing
Mhm.
some really remarkable things. But I'll frame it in this sense is here I am. I feel like I've done some pretty cool things as a coach. I wanted to start coaching because I wanted to be like a coach I never had, try to give back, try to make some good memories and help people become the best version of themselves in the real world. And
Mhm.
through that, I've seen a lot of really cool stories and moments where people have their proudest moment. And as a dad, I had my proudest moments when I got to watch my son win a state championship. He's a cross country runner, and
Awesome.
his sophomore year as a team, they went down to Colorado Springs and won the state championships. And it was cool for me because I didn't have to coach. I didn't have to do any hoorahs. I just got to sit there and listen and watch. And it was one of the proudest moments that I've ever had, well above any accomplishment as a coach. But as I say that, and you think of yourself, Casey, what is the proudest moment you've had in your life? And how has that been something that's ignited to who you are today?
Ooh, that is a tough question. There's 2 moments, and it goes back, honestly, to our previous conversation of junior year.
Yep.
That was a huge accomplishment for me, and just being able to first off, the excitement of winning state volleyball, that's an environment that I was not used to, right? So, not many people go to a state tennis tournament. There's not You're not in the Denver Coliseum with all 3A, 2A, 1A, all of those schools around you.
Mm,
And that was an extremely proud moment, just knowing what my team had gone through and all that we had really wanted to achieve that year. And just being able to beat a team that basically were all D1. That just for us was an extremely proud moment. But then on the flip side of that, going into tennis season, that was also probably Allie and I's Proudest state championship match. If I can remember correctly, I believe it was Kent Denver.
yep.
And I actually went to school. I went to college with the girl we played. So that was fun as well.
Wow. Small
um,
world.
but just what I individually was able to accomplish with volleyball, but then what Allie and I were able to do that year. 1 year being undefeated, great. A second year, that's pretty crazy. And just going through that because Kent's a tough team. Kent's always been hard. And so I would say just that year as a whole was a very proud moment for me, just understanding what I can do and my mental toughness and junior year, even education wise, is one of the hardest years to go through. Just that whole year for me really
Yeah.
um, helped me to develop as a person, but also to have that year and accomplish so much with girls that I couldn't imagine doing that without, especially Allie, just really was the cherry on top for me.
So cool. And as I'm thinking back and being able to look forward, I cannot wait for the moment where the parade actually happens and the statue's built of you and Allie in front of Cheyenne Mountain. I don't think it's ever gonna happen again, Casey. I don't think there's gonna be someone that is gonna do what you guys did. Now, could be wrong, but it's such a remarkable story. I'm humbled and taken back to be any part of it indirectly. You guys have been tremendous people in my life, and it's so fun to reconnect and go back down memory lane. But with that said, Casey Ahrendsen, unbelievable journey. And I cannot thank you enough for joining me on the BTB project.
No, I really appreciate it. I love sharing my side of the story. Hopefully, someone can resonate with it. And then, yeah, thank you for having me. It was amazing. I loved it.
Love it. And I know often I say impossible's nothing. What does that mean to you, Miss Casey?
Impossible is not nothing because it's achievable.
Yeah.
You can't have something that's achievable be nothing at all. And I've experienced that in my life. I bet there's a bunch of other people that have as well. And so, for anyone who thinks they can't do the impossible, it's always there. It's always something that you can achieve. You just, once again, need to think that you can achieve it.
Starting with confidence, ending with confidence. Casey, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Of course. You have a great rest of your day.
What a tremendous conversation with Casey Aronson and being able to hear the simplicity behind her confidence, what makes her tick, and some of the reasons behind why she's had the success that she's had. Her approach of being able to learn from having an older brother to implementing those tough love moments into having resiliency on and off the tennis court and volleyball court is unprecedented. There's a lot that we can learn from that type of mindset, whether we're an athlete or what we're approaching in the business world. Casey and Allie's ability to win 4 consecutive state championships didn't come by chance. It was this perfect storm of two people that knew each other, both strengths and weaknesses, how to help one another, and to keep each other accountable no matter what situation they face. There's a lot that we can learn from their journey. It's one of the most remarkable, historic feats that I've been able to come across as a coach. Listen, if Casey's story was something that impacted you, do me a favor and like and subscribe to the BTB Project. Better yet, send this episode to a family member, friend, colleague, and let them know why it impacted you. It's together as a BTB community that we continue to impact lives, encourage one another, and to truly go after impossible is nothing. That mindset is what each and every one of us can instill as we continue to pay the mission forward. I'm proud of each and every one of you. And until next time, take care.
You're told I'll be your heart, temptation.